just watched Fantastic Four First Steps last night, and I have a lot to say about this movie. There's going to be no spoilers, of course. Until the end, there will be a spoiler warning, but let's do a quick intro and get right into the video. If you're new here, please subscribe, and if you're watching, please like the video. It does a lot for me. It pushes this video out to others, but without further ado, let's get into this review. Of course, we're going to start with the negatives and positives, and we're going to start with the negatives first, the stuff that I didn't like about the movie and what didn't help stick the landing for me. This movie's an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10. I can get talked into an 8.5, but I'm pretty firm with 8. But this had some of the best highs of MCU history, and I'll explain a lot of that when I get into my positives and negatives. The biggest negative I had was the final act of this movie. The first part of the final act was really, really good. It got me hooked, and I was really locked into the movie. I was hoping that the ending, the landing would stick, and then they went completely off the rails and they were kind of losing me. Well, they did kind of lose me, I'm gonna be honest. I'll say what that part was at the end when we talk about spoilers, but they tried to do something to make Galactus obviously seem very, very unbeatable. And I feel like they did it the wrong way. Right concept though, like a good idea, but they just did not execute it, and I would have done it a lot differently. Which also leads me into, I feel like the final act towards the end, it definitely had bad writing. It felt so predictable. It's something that I almost sense in every single superhero film, every superhero movie. And sometimes I'll cope and say okay, I should have known this would happen. This is pretty much ritual at this point. But I just don't like it. It feels lazy, and I do feel like there's other ways to handle these situations in a superhero movie. And if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I mean. Another slight negative is that there's not as much action as you would actually think about this movie, but it's not the primary focus, right? This movie is supposed to be about the Fantastic Four, them representing themselves as the Marvel's first family. It's supposed to have chemistry, connection with one another. But when there was action in this movie, it was very, very high. The climaxes in this movie were really insane. When the action was happening, it just wasn't a lot of it. But again, exactly how I felt about Superman, that was pretty much my only negative for this whole entire movie. And the reason why it did bring that a lot down for me, we're talking about 2 points here, is because the way the movie ends is very, very important. You can have a good movie for the first 2 acts, and you don't stick the landing, it's going to make the movie not as good as you could think. If this didn't happen and they chose a different route, we're talking about one of the best MCU movies, even though I do think it's still one of the best MCU movies in history, but we're talking about one of the best comic book movies in general. If they just fixed and tweaked a couple little things. With that being said, I have so many positives, so I'm gonna try to rip them as quickly as possible. To start off with my first positive, it's going to be the cast, and we're gonna go down the line. People that were worried about Pedro Pascal being Reed Richards, I mean this wholeheartedly. You have nothing to worry about. He might have just gave us the best Reed performance that we've seen in live action, and I know that's not a high bar to stand because a lot of Fantastic Four movies were terrible, but Reed did a really, really good job. He was very serious. He didn't make a single joke in this movie. He wasn't funny. Him and Sue bicker a lot because he's so serious about his work and being smart and his sciences. He was very realistic. He was willing to do things that might not have seemed too logical or heartfelt at the time. And it really, really showed. That is Reed Richards, and they did a really good job at that. And that's the thing with getting these these high profile actors. They might not be here for the long run, but because they are so versatile and good at what they're doing, they're able to really deliver a role. So that's something that you just have to deal with. And Pedro did a really, really, really good job. The second best out of the 4 was definitely Joseph Quim's Human Torch. I have to give Marvel more credit than just the actor in this because for a lot of reasons, right? What do you guys mostly know Human Torch to be like? Pretty much annoying little brother. He's trying to be a comedian all the time. He's bothering everybody. That's what Chris Evans' Human Torch did a lot, almost overly a lot, even though he was a really good Human Torch. They gave Joseph Quinn the perfect balance between being an annoying little brother, being funny, but also not being dumb. He was an astronaut for a reason, and they showed he had really smart moments in this movie and maturity moments in this movie as well. Don't get me wrong, he's obviously the funny one of the group, but sometimes he can get oversaturated and a little bit too much, which is what we've seen a lot before. But they did the most perfect balancing, and I can't express that enough. A lot of people talked about his looks, he might not look a lot like a Johnny or attractive enough to be a Johnny. To me, that stuff didn't matter. It was more about like how he was going to deliver this role, and Marvel did a really good job at balancing that. And I think he was easily the second best part of this 4 group. I thought Vanessa Kirby was also a really good Sue Storm. Some things I didn't really see as a connection as well with the casting, like in terms of just how Sue Storm looks. I wasn't completely sold about how she acted as well, but she had a very big role in this movie, and they clearly wanted her to be the front line. She's the most powerful Fantastic Four member, and they showed that in this movie, which is something I'm very, very happy about. And I did think that she did what she needed to do, and the main thing was always going to come down to her relationship with Reed and her relationship with Johnny, of course, and the Thing. And I think she did a really good job at that. Thing was also really good as well. And the main thing with Thing that I only cared about was how his CGI would look and how good they would be with sound effects, the Rock sound effects when he walked, when he clapped, when he laughed, etc. Everything was nailed. The CGI did look wonky at times in certain scenes with his suits. A lot of times his arms just looked so much more shorter in some scenes. And then in some scenes his arms looked so much longer. And then in certain costumes he would fit, it would look completely different. Sometimes that stuff was noticeable and it bothered me a little bit. But the Thing, I still think his CGI just looks so amazing. It's the best looking Thing that we have gotten in live action. It looks straight out of like the cartoon, straight out of the comics. I was disappointed in his clobbering time, like, quote in this movie. Like, I was waiting for him to deliver it, and then when he did, I was like, man, that was so underwhelming. But I still think like this cast for this Fantastic Four group was phenomenal. You honestly couldn't get no better than that. Julia Gardner as Silver Surfer, as Bob. A lot of people didn't know that this is Silver Surfer's wife, so she was just portraying that in a different universe. She's like she's her own character, and she stole this movie. When I was talking about the action scenes earlier, a lot of them had her involved, and she had some of the most insane surfing moments on like a black hole and fighting the Fantastic Four. She was so fast. Her relationship with Galactus and how she showed her background story with him and how she got basically picked by him to save her universe. Like, it was so crazy. I was losing my mind. I couldn't sit still. Visually, and the sound effects during her moments were just so crazy. It made it feel so alive. There's always going to be a supporting character that steals this movie, and she was the top line, easily one of them. And her look, right? A lot of people, when they first saw her come out, a lot of people were worried about her CGI. This is, like I said, this is some of the best visuals I've ever seen. You could, when Johnny was in front of her, you could see his reflection in her. Like, she was pure chrome, like, just phenomenal. The words can't describe it. And I got to see this in IMAX and extra sound as well, so I really got to like see this like on a full screen and see how good it looks. I was just so surprised. I really hope at some point we can see more of her. I don't know what the direction is going to be for her and what this group is going to be moving forward, but she is easily one of the best things about this movie. Galactus has to be talked about as one of the best MCU villains in terms of a debut ever. Like, Ralph Ineson, his voice is so crazy. My theater was literally shaking every single time that Galactus spoke. And for whatever reason, in other Fantastic Four movies, we don't even really get to see like a full thing of Galactus, but we got to see this Galactic eat a planet. We get to see how he eats a planet, how it works. They talk about his history, his background, why he's there, what his goals are. They explain the connection between him and Silver Surfer together. He had moments where you could see his full body and he's fighting the Fantastic Four. He's walking on their planet. He shrinks, etc. And there's a scene where like he jumps off of like his chair onto the planet and starts walking around, and just the noises, the sounds, the way he's speaking to them. I looked over at my friend. I was just like, what am I hearing? What am I watching right now? It's something like we never seen a villain like him, as unique as him. This tall, this like dominant, this powerful, this wide. Like, obviously we had Thanos and stuff, but like nothing on this level. And something that I was very, very worried about was making sure that they had Galactus do justice. Like, he had to deliver. He had to be someone that was very, very fearful, not someone that they just could just beat normally. And I promise you, they 100% delivered. I just went down the full line of this casting, and every last person was well. Again, another positive. This is easily one of the best looking MCU movies that I've ever seen. I literally took time to sit and think about what movies visually looked well. Thor Love and Thunder was a bad movie, but it had a lot of good visuals when it was in that black and white scene. And then other than that, I'm like, what movie looked this good? It's such a gap in quality. It's insane. The colors are just so bright. All the colors of blue that they showed in this movie, the suits look so good. Everybody's skin looks so good. The CGI for everybody looks so good. Like Galactus's eyes when they were lighting up looked so good. Like his helmet looks so good. Visually, there's no contest. It's the best looking MCU movie ever. The Marvel went through this weird phase where everything was dull, it's bland, it's losing a lot of color. They said no, we're going straight back to the color. This is the most color I've ever seen. And along with visuals, the sound as well, the score for this movie, the music in this movie, I still have the theme songs playing in my head over and over again. The soundtrack of when Silver Surfer was fighting the Fantastic Four in like this black hole scene, it reminded me a lot of Interstellar. Galactus's theme music when he finds the Fantastic Four, again, so daunting, and you can actually feel like scared and worried for this team. Phenomenal job. Such good theme music. I can't remember who was in charge of this music. I have to find his name. I'll make sure to look it up in a second. But he did such a good job for this movie. This movie being set in the 60s, I feel like did a lot for this movie because the theme, how everybody dressed, how everybody talked, it was weird because it's in the 60s, but it's very futuristic, of course. So like their universe, like their planet, everybody's aesthetic like just matches with each other. So like all the new technology, the vibrance and stuff like that, everything just looked so good. The CGI as well, I didn't get to talk about that a lot. The CGI as well for like Johnny looked so good when he was in like that Human Torch form, him being able to turn it off, his clothes not getting burned. He was able to like fly, save somebody, turn off half of his body that turns into flames to put it back into human form to carry this person, to still fly, land them, and then go back into full mode like fire again. His fire looked just so unique. Sue being invisible and stuff and her using her powers as well gave off that like rainbow like effect. It wasn't just like a clear like bubble like we've kind of seen in the past. That is a major upgrade. And then for Mr. Fantastic, his powers, it's hard to really use like stretching powers as like a visual cue because it's never going to really look real. But there were some moments that it really did look like practical in a way because he was using it as like a day of life stuff, like using it to go grab things, using it to go turn things on, stretching back and forth from something. When he was fighting, it did look a lot more CGI than normal, obviously, but that's just me nitpicking a little bit. But like, and I already spoke about the Thing, his CGI was really good as well. But yeah, like their power uses were really good in this movie. I have a lot to talk about with the spoilers and stuff and what it's going to lead to the next topic I want to talk about in another video for another day. So this is your spoiler warning. We have a lot to talk about here. The end credit scene for the Fantastic Four First Steps was very interesting. So Vanessa Kirby, she's talking with Franklin. This is 4 years after the events of Galactus. And Franklin's already reading books. He's already very smart. He's getting grown up a little bit. He's still a baby. We hear some like swoosh, like magic noise type of thing while Vanessa walks away for like a brief second, and she comes back and she's being very cautious. She has her powers up and she looks over the corner and it is Doctor Doom. He is wearing a green cloak like thing, like hood, and his mask is off, but he's holding the mask in one hand and like playing with Franklin Richards and like with his other hand, but you can't see his face. I'm going to be honest, in the moment I was like, oh my gosh, like blah blah. They teased a lot of Latveria in this movie. Like he wasn't like Latveria didn't represent them at one of Susan's council meetings for what they wanted to do with the world and stuff like that. He was the only one not sitting in his chair to represent his country, which is so good. It's such a good small detail. But I was bummed out that we didn't see like we have to wait a whole another year. You know what I'm saying? That's for Spider-Man Brand New Day, but let alone like the Avengers Doomsday. And I was very disappointed that we didn't see just a little like a scar of Robert Downey Jr.'s face, or just something to get us even more psyched and happy for it. It kind of just felt like, okay, just here, you know, like here we have to have in Doctor Doom be included somehow, some way. We all knew he would be, but I just thought they were going to show more, so I was a little bit disappointed on that. But that's going to be my next video topic, which will come out on Thursday. it'll be about how I feel about Doctor Doom and what this is going to mean for Avengers Doomsday, because I had a completely different theory of what I thought this movie was going to be. I thought they were going to lose to Galactus. They end up not losing. They end up winning. I thought that was how they were going to get to the 616 universe, and it wasn't. It's a lot. So now my whole perspective has changed. The spoiler that I also wanted to talk about was the ending where Sue basically dies because she tried to not only save like her family, but she had the job to push Galactus into like this black hole thing. And this was just a push. You know what I'm saying? Like they wanted to, I understand, they wanted to make Galactus be so powerful, so strong, that it took all four of them to fight him just to push him into a black hole, let alone do any damage to him. They didn't damage him at all, outside of Johnny putting fire in his eyes. But Sue had the responsibility to push him into the black hole using her force. And yes, it worked, but it took everything out of her and she died. I was like, what direction are we going down right now? And the reason why I said it was bad writing, of course, and how it was so predictable is because Franklin Richards is there, of course, as a baby. And they used Franklin Richards as bait, which I knew was, and I thought that was a really good idea because it showed like Reed was willing to do whatever possible. But Reed Richards as a child brings Sue back to life. And I was just like, of course he would. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should have just avoided that whole thing to begin with. Obviously, like, if it would have been one thing if she was really, really hurt, really, really damaged, and Franklin did something, or maybe Franklin accidentally used his powers as a baby and created a universe and accidentally sucked Galactus in there. I would have been like, whoa, like he's so powerful or something. There's different ways to show that Galactus is truly powerful. Sue dying like that made absolutely no sense to me, and I'm just like, what is this writing? What is this direction that we're going down right now? Which I like I said it before, it's a huge negative. That really bothered me, and it did knock a lot of points down, but that's something I really wanted to talk about. But that was my negatives and positives for the Fantastic Four First Steps, and I stand on it. I really do think this was one of the best MCU movies that I've ever seen. It easily clears every single MCU movie in Phase 5. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is probably the most relative to it, that and Thunderbolts, but I still think Fantastic Four is a jump in quality by a lot. But there's still so much more that I want to talk about, but I will be posting that video on Thursday. It will be my new theory on Avengers Doomsday and how it's going to lead into Secret Wars, especially with that end credit scene that we had. It's just insane. If you're new here, please subscribe, and if you're watching, please again like the video. If you want to follow me for more short form content, go to my TikTok and Instagram. I am active on both. I'll see y'all Thursday. I'll catch y'all in the next video.